Before we begin, drop a comment telling us what city you're watching from, and don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10 when we're done. Enjoy the story. The Mediterranean sun blazed overhead as Alexander Knight's $50 million yacht cut through crystal-clear waters. Music pounded from the deck, where beautiful models in designer bikinis danced around him. Alex, devastatingly handsome at 28, lounged in a white linen shirt, Ray-Bans covering his piercing blue eyes, champagne flute in hand. "Alex, baby!" squealed Madison, a blonde influencer. She draped herself over his chair. "This party is absolutely divine!" Alex barely glanced at her, his attention focused on his phone as he scrolled through business emails. Even in paradise, even surrounded by everything money could buy, something felt empty. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Alexander Knight?" The voice was crisp, professional. "Who's asking?" Alex replied, irritated by the interruption. "Harold Whitman, senior partner at Whitman and Associates. I was your grandfather's attorney. We need to talk, immediately." Alex straightened, his playboy facade cracking slightly. His grandfather had died just 2 weeks ago. "What about the inheritance, Mr. Knight? There's a condition you're unaware of." The party noise faded as Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of condition?" "Not over the phone. Can you be in New York tomorrow?" "I'm in Monaco." "Then I suggest you leave tonight. Your inheritance depends on it." The line went dead. Alex stared at his phone, dread pooling in his stomach. The next day, the mahogany-paneled office reeked of old money and older secrets. The mahogany-paneled office reeked of old money and older secrets. Harold Whitman, a man in his 70s with kind eyes and silver hair, slid a thick document across his desk. "Your grandfather was particular about his final wishes," Whitman began carefully. Alex skimmed the document, his face growing paler with each line. "This can't be legal." "I assure you it is. To inherit the $500 million fortune and controlling shares of Knight Industries, you must be married within 6 months and remain married for 1 full year." Alex shot to his feet, pacing. "This is insane. I'm 28 years old." "Your grandfather felt your lifestyle choices indicated a lack of commitment and responsibility." "My lifestyle choices?" Alex's voice rose. "I've been running half the company operations for 3 years." Whitman's expression softened. "Alexander, your grandfather loved you, but he watched you go through women like changing clothes. He wanted to ensure you'd learn the value of commitment before inheriting everything he built." Alex slumped back into his chair, running his hands through his dark hair. 6 months? "Starting from today. And Mr. Knight?" Whitman paused. "If you fail to meet this condition, the inheritance goes to your Uncle Richard, along with control of the company." The mention of his Uncle Richard made Alex's jaw clench. Richard had been circling like a vulture since grandfather's death, making no secret of his belief that Alex was too irresponsible to run Knight Industries. "There has to be another way," Alex muttered. "I'm afraid not. Your grandfather was very specific." Alex stood, his mind already racing. "Then I guess I need to find a wife." 3 weeks later, Sophia Martinez balanced 3 law textbooks, her laptop bag, and a large coffee as she hurried down Fifth Avenue. Sophia Martinez balanced 3 law textbooks, her laptop bag, and a large coffee as she hurried down Fifth Avenue. At 25, she carried herself with quiet determination despite the exhaustion evident in her dark eyes. Her black hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and her clothes, while clean and professional, showed signs of being worn too often. She glanced at her watch, 11:47 p.m. The 24/7 Law Library Cafe where she worked the night shift was just around the corner. If she hurried, She could grab another hour of studying before her shift started. Meanwhile, Alex Knight was having the worst day of his life. After leaving the lawyer's office, he'd spent hours driving his Lamborghini through Manhattan streets, trying to process the impossible situation. Paparazzi had been following him since he returned from Monaco, their camera flashes creating a strobing nightmare in his rearview mirror. "Just leave me alone," he shouted, pressing harder on the accelerator. The photographers pursued him on motorcycles, one getting dangerously close to his side mirror. Alex swerved to avoid him, tires screeching as he took a sharp right turn onto Fifth Avenue. He didn't see Sophia until it was almost too late. Alex slammed on the brakes, his Lamborghini sliding to a stop mere inches from her. The sudden stop sent Sophia's coffee flying, books scattering across the sidewalk, and her laptop bag spinning through the air. "Are you insane?" Sophia screamed, adrenaline and terror making her voice shake. Alex jumped out of the car, paparazzi still circling like sharks. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Are you hurt?" Sophia was on her hands and knees, frantically gathering her soaked textbooks. "Do I look okay to you? These books cost me 3 months of groceries." Alex knelt down trying to help gather her things, but everything was drenched in coffee. "I'll buy you new ones. I'll buy you 10 new ones." "You'll buy me." Sophia looked up and froze. Even in the chaos, even with his hair disheveled and his expensive shirt wrinkled, she recognized him immediately. Alexander Knight, Playboy billionaire, subject of her thesis on corporate family fraud cases. But he didn't need to know that. "Look, Mr. she said, standing and brushing coffee off her jacket. "Knight. Alex Knight." He extended his hand, but she didn't take it. "Mr. Knight, I don't need your charity. I just need you to watch where you're driving before you kill someone." Alex was taken aback. Most women he encountered either threw themselves at him or at least recognized his name with some level of awe. This woman looked at him like he was a reckless idiot, which admittedly he was being. "Please, at least let me replace your books and your coffee and—" He gestured helplessly at her coffee-stained clothes. "Fine, but not here." Sophia glanced around at the gathering crowd and photographers. "I work at the Midnight Scholar. It's a cafe inside the Columbia Law Library, 2 blocks down. I'll meet you there in an hour." Sophia hesitated. This was perfect, too perfect. She needed to study Alex Knight for her thesis, and here he was, literally crashing into her life. As she walked away, Alex watched her go, struck by something he couldn't quite name. In a world full of people who wanted something from him, she'd looked at him like he was just a person. A reckless, annoying person, but still just a person. The Midnight Scholar was exactly what it sounded like. A small cafe tucked inside Columbia's law library that stayed open 24/7 for students who lived on caffeine and determination. At midnight, it was nearly empty except for a few dedicated law students and Sophia, who was behind the counter in a black apron, her damp hair now neatly braided. Alex walked in looking completely out of place in his $3,000 suit and Italian leather shoes. He approached the counter cautiously. Hi, I'm here to replace your books?" Sophia looked up from the espresso machine. "Right, the reckless driver. What'll it be? Coffee's on the house since you owe me one." "Black coffee, thanks." Alex slid onto a bar stool, watching her work. "I really am sorry about earlier." "Apology accepted. Accidents happen." She placed a steaming mug in front of him. "Though maybe next time lose the paparazzi before you go for a joyride." Alex winced. "You saw them. Hard to miss. Are you famous or just rich?" "Bit of both, unfortunately." Sophia leaned against the counter, studying him. For her thesis, she needed to understand the psychology behind corporate family dynasties. Alex Knight was perfect, young, privileged, and according to her research, completely irresponsible with money and power. "What's it like?" she asked. "Having that much money?" Alex looked surprised by the direct question. "Honestly, lonely." The answer caught Sophia off guard. She'd expected arrogance, maybe some humble bragging, not honesty. "Lonely? You could buy anything you want, go anywhere." "Yeah, and everyone who wants to be around me either wants my money or wants to be seen with me. It's hard to know who's real." Sophia felt a twinge of guilt. She was literally using him for her research, which wasn't exactly real friendship. Alex took a sip of his coffee, grimacing slightly. "This is really strong." "It's how coffee's supposed to taste. Let me guess. You usually drink those fancy drinks with 12 syllables in the name." "Actually, I usually just drink champagne." Sophia laughed despite herself. "Of course you do." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the late-night atmosphere creating an unexpected intimacy. Finally, Alex spoke up. "Can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "What do you do? Besides make excellent coffee and go to law school." "I work 3 jobs to pay for law school. This one tutoring undergrads and weekend research for a professor." "What kind of research?" Sophia's pulse quickened. "Corporate law, family businesses, inheritance patterns, that sort of thing." "Sounds fascinating," Alex said dryly. "It is, actually. You'd be surprised how many family dynasties are built on secrets and lies." Alex's coffee mug stopped halfway to his lips. "What do you mean?" "Well, take any major family corporation. Dig deep enough and you'll find embezzlement, fraud, sometimes even—" She caught herself before saying, "murder." "Let's just say money doesn't always come with clean hands." Alex set down his mug, his expression unreadable. "And you believe that? That all wealthy families are corrupt?" "Not all, but most of the powerful ones?" "Yeah. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." The words hung in the air between them. Alex stared at her, and for a moment Sophia wondered if she'd pushed too hard. Then Alex did something unexpected. He smiled. "You're not wrong," he said quietly. "My family's no exception." Before Sophia could respond, Alex's phone rang. He glanced at it and sighed. "I have to take this, but—" He hesitated. "Would you maybe want to have dinner sometime? Somewhere that doesn't involve me nearly running you over?" Sophia's heart pounded. This was exactly what she needed for her research, closer access to Alex Knight. But looking at him now, seeing the genuine loneliness in his eyes, she felt like she was about to cross a line she couldn't uncross. Sure. Why not?" Alex smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face. "Great. I'll pick you up tomorrow at 7. Make it 8. I have class until 7:30. 8 it is." Alex stood, leaving a $50 bill on the counter. "For the coffee and the books. This is way too much. Consider it a down payment on not getting me arrested for reckless driving." As Alex left, Sophia stared at the money, then at his retreating figure. She'd set out to study Alexander Knight for her thesis on corporate corruption. She hadn't expected him to be human. She told herself it was just research. She told herself she wasn't actually going to hurt him. She told herself a lot of things that night. None of them turned out to be true. Alex picked Sophia up in a sleek black Tesla, a conscious choice after their conversation about environmental responsibility during their coffee shop encounter. Alex picked Sophia up in a sleek black Tesla, a conscious choice after their conversation about environmental responsibility during their coffee shop encounter. He wore dark jeans and a navy button-down, clearly making an effort to dress down from his usual designer suits. "You clean up nice," Sophia said as she got in the car. She'd chosen a simple black dress that was elegant but not too formal, paired with boots instead of heels. "You too. Though I have to admit, I was half expecting you to stand me up." "Why would I do that?" Alex shrugged as he pulled away from her building. "Most people want something from me. When they don't get it immediately, they disappear." "What makes you think I don't want something from you?" The question was meant to be playful, but it hit closer to home than Sophia intended. Alex glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "I guess I'm hoping you're different." They drove through Manhattan as the sun set, conversation flowing easier than either had expected. Alex had chosen a small Italian restaurant in the village, authentic, intimate, and completely unlike the trendy hotspots he usually frequented. "This is nice," Sophia said as they were seated at a corner table. "Not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Something with a 3-month waiting list and a wine menu longer than my thesis." Alex laughed. "I asked my assistant for somewhere normal people go. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head." "Your assistant?" "Yeah, Margaret. She's been with the family for 20 years. Sometimes I think she knows more about running my life than I do." As they talked over dinner, Sophia found herself genuinely enjoying Alex's company. He was funny, self-deprecating, and surprisingly well-read. When he talked about his travels, it wasn't to brag, but to share experiences that had genuinely moved him. "What about you?" Alex asked as they shared tiramisu. "What's your story? And don't just say law student. I want to know what makes Sophia Martinez tick." Sophia hesitated. The truth was complicated: her father's death, her desperate financial situation, her research into Alex's family. Instead, she gave him an edited version. "I grew up in Queens. My dad died when I was 16, and my mom worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was 12 and watched my neighbor get evicted because she couldn't understand the legal documents her landlord gave her." "That's why you're so passionate about corporate law? To help people like your neighbor?" "Something like that." Alex reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "I'm sorry about your father." The simple gesture nearly undid her. His hand was warm, calloused, despite his wealth, evidence that he did more than just party and spend money. "What was he like?" Alex asked gently. Sophia's throat tightened. He was a good man. He believed in justice, in doing the right thing, even when it was hard. He would have liked you, I think." And here she was, holding hands with the heir to the empire that had killed her father. "He sounds like he was an amazing man," Alex said softly. "He was," Sophia whispered, guilt eating at her from the inside. After dinner, they walked through Washington Square Park, the city lights creating a romantic backdrop that made Sophia forget, momentarily, why she was really there. "Can I ask you something?" Alex said as they sat on a bench near the fountain. "Sure." "Earlier, you said you thought most wealthy families were corrupt. Do you think I'm corrupt?" The question caught Sophia off guard. She studied his face in the lamplight, seeing genuine vulnerability there. "I don't know you well enough to judge," she said carefully. "But if you did know me, what would you want to know?" "Everything," Sophia thought. "I want to know if you knew what your uncle did to my father. I want to know if you're complicit in your family's crimes. I want to know if the man sitting next to me is as dangerous as the empire he's about to inherit." "I'd want to know what you really care about," she said instead. "Beyond the money and the lifestyle. What keeps you up at night?" Alex was quiet for so long that Sophia wondered if she'd overstepped. Finally he spoke. "I have nightmares," he said quietly, "about my parents." "Your parents?" "They died when I was 12. Car accident. One day they were there, And the next, he trailed off. I was sent to live with my grandfather, and he was good to me, but it was never the same. I think that's why I don't let people get close. It's easier to lose someone when you never really had them to begin with. Sophia felt her carefully constructed walls crumbling. This wasn't the spoiled playboy from her research files. This was a man who'd lost everything that mattered when he was just a child. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It's okay. It was a long time ago." Alex turned to look at her. "But that's why this conversation, this evening, it means more to me than you might think." When Alex drove her home, he walked her to her door like a perfect gentleman. "I had a really good time tonight," he said. "So did I. Can I see you again?" Sophia knew she should say no. Every instinct told her she was getting in too deep, that she was starting to care about her target. But looking at Alex, remembering the loneliness in his voice when he talked about his parents, she couldn't bring herself to walk away. "Yes," she said. "I'd like that." Alex smiled and leaned down to kiss her cheek. "Good night, Sophia." As she watched him drive away, Sophia realized she was in serious trouble. She'd started this as a research project. Now she was starting to fall for Alexander Knight. And that could ruin everything. Sophia woke up to 17 missed calls from her thesis advisor, Professor Elena Rodriguez. Her heart sank as she called back. "Sophia, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all morning." "I'm sorry, Professor, I was—" "Never mind that. I have incredible news. I've secured us access to the Knight Industries archives. Complete financial records going back 30 years. Sophia's stomach dropped. "The archives? Yes. It's unprecedented access. We'll be able to prove definitively whether there was financial misconduct surrounding the death of that lawyer. What was his name?" "Miguel Martinez," Sophia whispered. "Right. Your research could blow this case wide open. When can you start reviewing the documents?" Sophia stared at her reflection in her bathroom mirror. Last night she'd been a woman falling for a charming man. This morning she was back to being a researcher investigating that same man's family for murder. "Sophia, are you there?" "Yes, Professor, I'm here." "Good. Meet me at the university at 10. We have work to do." Meanwhile, across town, Alex was having his own crisis of conscience. He'd woken up thinking about Sophia. Her laugh, the way she'd challenged him, the warmth in her eyes when she talked about her father. For the first time in years, he'd felt normal, like he could be himself instead of the image everyone expected him to be. But he hadn't told her about the inheritance clause. He hadn't told her that he needed to be married in 5.5 months or lose everything. And the thought that was keeping him up was this: did his feelings for Sophia make pursuing her more honest or less? His phone rang, interrupting his internal debate. "Alex, darling!" His Uncle Richard's voice boomed through the speaker. "How are you handling the news about the inheritance?" "I'm handling it," Alex said curtly. "Of course you are. Listen, I wanted to offer my assistance. Finding a wife in 6 months is quite a challenge, but I have some lovely young ladies in mind. Society girls, you understand. The right breeding, the right connections. I don't need your help, Uncle Richard. Don't be proud, my boy. This is too important. The future of Knight Industries depends on you making the right choice." Alex thought about Sophia. Brilliant, independent, completely unimpressed by his wealth. She was the opposite of every society girl Richard would suggest. "I'll figure it out myself," Alex said. "Alex, please be reasonable. You can't afford to be romantic about this. Choose someone sensible, someone who understands that this is a business arrangement." "What if I don't want a business arrangement?" Silence on the other end of the line. "Alex," Richard said finally, his tone carefully controlled, I hope you're not developing feelings for someone unsuitable. Define unsuitable. Someone who might not understand the complexities of our family's position. Someone who might ask too many questions about things that are better left alone. There was something in Richard's tone that sent a chill down Alex's spine. What are you talking about? Nothing, my boy. Just remember, the wrong woman could destroy everything our family has built. Choose wisely. The line went dead, leaving Alex staring at his phone. Something about Richard's warning felt more like a threat. Columbia University's legal research facility was a fortress of academia. Concrete walls, fluorescent lighting, and the musty smell of old documents. Sophia sat at a metal table surrounded by boxes of Knight Industries financial records, her laptop open, taking detailed notes. For 3 hours, she'd been building a timeline of financial irregularities in the months leading up to her father's death. The pattern was becoming clear. Someone had been systematically moving money through shell companies, hiding millions in offshore accounts. Her father had been investigating these transfers when he died. Find anything interesting? Professor Rodriguez asked, looking over Sophia's shoulder. Look at this. Sophia pointed to a series of transactions. 3 days before my father's death, someone transferred $50 million to a Cayman Islands account. The authorization signature is unusual. What do you mean? It's not Alexander Knight's signature. It's not his grandfather's either. But look at this letter I found in my father's papers. It's signed by Richard Knight, Alexander's uncle. Professor Rodriguez leaned closer. You think Richard Knight was the one moving the money? I think Richard Knight was stealing from the company, and my father found out. Sophia's voice was tight with controlled anger. I think that's why my father died. Sophia, these are serious accusations. They're not accusations. They're facts. Sophia pulled out another document. This is a memo my father wrote to Alexander's grandfather 3 days before he died. He says he has evidence of embezzlement and wants to meet to discuss it. And he died in a car accident the next day. Brake failure, they said. Very convenient. Professor Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. What does this mean for your thesis? Sophia stared at the documents spread before her. It means Alexander Knight is either complicit in his uncle's crimes, or he's an innocent man about to inherit a company built on murder and theft. How will you find out which? Sophia thought about Alex's hand holding hers the night before, the genuine pain in his voice when he talked about his parents' death. I'm going to get close to him, she said quietly. I'm going to earn his trust, and then I'm going to find out exactly what Alexander Knight knows about his family's crimes. What Sophia didn't know was that Alex was having lunch with his Uncle Richard at that very moment 2 miles away. You look troubled, my boy, Richard was saying as he cut into his steak. Is it the inheritance situation? It's complicated, Alex replied, pushing food around his plate. It doesn't have to be. I've arranged for you to meet Caroline Whitmore this weekend. Lovely girl, old family, perfect for our purposes. I told you I'm not interested in an arranged marriage. And I told you this is business. But if you're determined to be romantic about it, Richard leaned back in his chair. Tell me about this girl you've been seeing. Alex looked up sharply. How did you? Alex, you're about to inherit a multi-billion-dollar company. Everything you do is my business now. Richard's smile was thin. So who is she? Her name is Sophia Martinez. She's a law student. Martinez? Hispanic? Alex's jaw tightened at the implication in Richard's tone. Colombian American, and brilliant. I'm sure she is. What does she study? Corporate law. Richard's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Corporate law. Yes, why? No reason. It's just... An interesting coincidence. What do you mean? Richard waved dismissively. Nothing. I'm just old and paranoid. Tell me more about this young woman. Where did you meet her? As Alex talked about Sophia, he didn't notice the calculating look in his uncle's eyes. And he definitely didn't see Richard excuse himself to make a phone call. Yes, it's Richard Knight, Richard said quietly into his phone from the restaurant's bathroom. I need you to run a background check on someone. Sophia Martinez, law student at Columbia? Yes, immediately. And dig deep. I want to know everything about her family, her finances, her research. Everything. Neither Alex nor Sophia knew it, but they were both being watched now. Sophia was investigating the Knight family's past. Alex was falling for a woman who might be his enemy. And Richard Knight was playing a game that was about to turn deadly. Alex picked Sophia up for their second date on a warm Saturday afternoon. This time, he'd planned something completely different. A baseball game? Sophia asked as they approached Yankee Stadium. You said you wanted to see how normal people have fun, Alex said with a grin. Doesn't get more normal than hot dogs and bad calls by the umpire. Sophia laughed despite her inner turmoil. She'd spent the morning reviewing more files on the Knight family, building her case, reminding herself why she was doing this. But seeing Alex's genuine excitement about something as simple as a baseball game made her defenses crumble again. I haven't been to a game since I was a kid, she admitted. Then you're in for a treat. Fair warning, though. I take baseball very seriously. They found their seats. Good ones, but not the luxury boxes Alex could easily afford. For 3 hours, Sophia watched Alex transform into a regular guy. He bought overpriced hot dogs, argued with the umpire, and high-fived strangers when the Yankees scored. You're different here, Sophia observed during the 7th-inning stretch. Different how? Happier, less guarded. Alex considered this. I guess I don't have to be Alexander Knight, billionaire heir, at a baseball game. I can just be Alex. Is that who you want to be, just Alex? More than anything. He turned to look at her. You make me feel like that's possible. The sincerity in his voice made Sophia's chest ache. She was falling for him, really falling for him, and it was complicating everything. Alex, she started, not sure what she wanted to say. Yeah? Nothing. Just thank you. For this. For being yourself. After the game, they walked through Central Park as the sun set. Alex was telling her about his college years, the friends he'd lost when the money became too obvious, the isolation that came with his name. Have you ever thought about walking away, Sophia asked, from the money, the company, all of it? Alex was quiet for a long moment. Every day, but it's not that simple. Why not? Because if I walk away, someone else takes over, and not everyone in my family has the same values I do. What do you mean? Alex stopped walking, his expression troubled. My Uncle Richard, he's been running things since my grandfather got sick. And some of his decisions? Alex shook his head. Let's just say we don't always agree on how business should be conducted. Sophia's pulse quickened. What kind of decisions? I probably shouldn't, Alex caught himself. Sorry, I don't usually talk about family business. It's okay, I understand. But Sophia filed away every word. Alex, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think your family's business is ethical? Alex stopped walking entirely now, turning to face her. Why do you ask? Sophia scrambled for a reason that wouldn't blow her cover. I study corporate law, and I've seen what power can do to people. I worry about what that world might do to you. You worry about me? I'm starting to. Alex stepped closer, his voice soft. Sophia, there are things about my family, about our business, that I'm not proud of. But I'm trying to change that. I want to be better than the generation before me. What if you found out someone in your family had done something really bad, something illegal? I'd expose them, Alex said without hesitation. Family or not, wrong is wrong. Sophia searched his eyes, looking for any sign of deception. All she saw was sincerity. Even if it cost you everything? Even then. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment staring at her research files. Everything she'd learned suggested that Richard Knight was the one behind the embezzlement and possibly her father's death. Alex seemed genuinely unaware of his uncle's crimes. But was she seeing what she wanted to see? Was she falling for him, clouding her judgment? Her phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Had an amazing time today. You're pretty wonderful, Sophia Martinez. Before she could stop herself, she typed back, You're not so bad yourself, Alexander Knight. Then she opened her laptop and continued building the case that might destroy him. What Sophia didn't know was that across town, Richard Knight was reviewing the background check on her. The file was thick, complete, and damning. Miguel Martinez, Richard murmured, reading through the documents. That meddling lawyer from 15 years ago. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. It's me. We have a problem. That girl Alex is seeing. She's Miguel Martinez's daughter. Yes, that Miguel Martinez. No, I don't think Alex knows who she is yet. But it's only a matter of time. We need to handle this before it becomes complicated. Richard hung up and stared out his office window at the Manhattan skyline. He'd worked too hard and come too far to let a dead lawyer's daughter ruin everything now. The game was about to change, and neither Alex nor Sophia was prepared for what was coming. 3 weeks into their relationship, Alex's situation was becoming desperate. He had less than 5 months to find a wife, and every day he spent with Sophia made the thought of marrying anyone else impossible. But he still hadn't told her about the inheritance clause. They were having dinner at the same small Italian restaurant where they'd had their first date when Alex made a decision that would change everything. Sophia, there's something I need to tell you, he said, reaching across the table to take her hand. That sounds serious. It is. Alex took a deep breath. Do you remember when we talked about my family's business? About power and corruption? Sophia nodded, her pulse quickening. Well, I'm about to inherit everything. The company, the fortune, all of it. But there's a catch. What kind of catch? Alex looked into her eyes, knowing this moment would determine their future. I have to be married. Within the next 4.5 months. Sophia stared at him, her mind racing. Married? That's insane. It's my grandfather's way of making sure I settle down. If I don't marry and stay married for a year, everything goes to my Uncle Richard. And you're telling me this because... Alex squeezed her hand. Because I don't want to marry just anyone, Sophia. I want to marry you. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. This was it, the moment she'd been unconsciously preparing for. Alex Knight was proposing marriage, giving her unlimited access to his life, his family, his secrets. It was perfect for her research. It was also the most morally complicated moment of her life. Alex, this is a lot to process. I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other for 3 weeks. But Sophia, you're different. You see me. Not just my bank account or my name. You make me want to be better. Sophia's mind was spinning. She thought about her father, about the evidence she'd been gathering, about the justice she'd sworn to achieve. Then she looked at Alex's earnest face, at the vulnerability in his eyes, and felt her heart breaking. This is about the money, isn't it? She said quietly. The inheritance? Alex's face fell. Yes. The inheritance is why I need to get married. But Sophia, my feelings for you are real. I'm falling in love with you." Sophia stared at him for a long moment, knowing that her next words would seal both their fates. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. I'll marry you, Alex." Alex's face lit up with relief and joy. He stood up, pulled her into his arms, and kissed her right there in the middle of the restaurant. Other diners applauded, thinking they were witnessing a romantic proposal. They had no idea they were watching the beginning of the most dangerous deception of both their lives. 2 days later, Sophia found herself in the gleaming offices of Whitman and Associates, staring at a marriage contract that was thicker than some novels. "This is quite comprehensive," Harold Whitman said, sliding the document across his desk. "Mr. Knight wanted to ensure both parties' interests are protected." Sophia flipped through pages of legal jargon, her lawyer training kicking in. Financial compensation, property rights, confidentiality clauses. She looked up at Alex, who was sitting beside her, looking uncomfortable. "Alex, this reads like a business merger, not a marriage." "I know it's impersonal," Alex said, "but given the circumstances, my lawyers insisted on protecting the inheritance." "And what exactly am I agreeing to?" Whitman cleared his throat. "In exchange for entering into this marriage and maintaining it for 1 full year, you'll receive a compensation package of $5 million, plus a monthly allowance during the marriage period." Sophia's breath caught. $5 million. She could pay off her student loans, help her mother, and never worry about money again. But more importantly, she'd have full access to Alex's life, his family's business records, and the evidence she needed to prove what happened to her father. "There's also a confidentiality clause," Whitman continued. "You cannot discuss the terms of this arrangement or any Knight family business with outside parties." Alex leaned forward. "Sophia, you don't have to sign this. We can find another way." "No." Sophia picked up the pen, her hand steady despite her racing heart. "I'll sign it." As she wrote her name on the contract, Sophia felt like she was signing 2 different documents: a marriage agreement with the man she was falling in love with, and a declaration of war against the family that had destroyed hers. What neither Alex nor Sophia knew was that their meeting was being watched. In a black sedan parked across from the law office, Richard Knight's private investigator took photos of them entering and leaving the building. They signed the papers, he reported into his phone. "Good." Richard's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Now we move to phase 2. I want to know everything about that girl's activities. Where she goes, who she talks to, what she's researching, everything. And if she becomes a problem?" Richard was quiet for a moment. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. But if it does, well, accidents happen. They run in the Martinez family." The wedding was held at Alex's penthouse exactly 1 week later. It was small, intimate, and completely surreal. Only Harold Whitman and Alex's assistant Margaret were present as witnesses. Sophia wore a simple cream-colored dress she'd bought on sale, while Alex looked devastatingly handsome in a navy suit. As they exchanged vows, Sophia found herself fighting back real tears. "Do you, Alexander, take Sophia to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do," Alex said, his eyes never leaving hers. "Do you, Sophia, take Alexander to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Sophia looked into Alex's eyes and saw such genuine affection that she almost confessed everything right there. "I do," she whispered. When Alex kissed her, sealing their marriage, Sophia felt like she was betraying both of them. That night in the penthouse they now shared, Alex showed Sophia to the master bedroom. "This is yours now, too," he said. "Our room." Sophia looked around at the elegant space. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, and a view of Manhattan that probably cost more than most people's houses. Alex, she said softly, I know this started as a business arrangement, but I want you to know my feelings for you are real. Alex stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. Mine too. I know the timing is crazy and the circumstances are complicated, but Sophia, I'm grateful every day that I crashed into your life. When he kissed her again, Sophia let herself forget about research and revenge and justice. For one night, she just wanted to be a woman in love with her new husband. But as Alex fell asleep beside her, Sophia stared at the ceiling, knowing that tomorrow she would begin the most intensive investigation of her life. She was now Mrs. Alexander Knight, with access to every corner of the Knight Empire, and she was going to use that access to destroy it. 2 weeks into their marriage, Alex announced that his Uncle Richard wanted to host a family dinner to officially welcome Sophia into the Knight family. Do I have to? Sophia asked, looking up from her laptop where she'd been studying, but was actually reviewing Knight Industries' financial records she'd gained access to as Alex's wife. Unfortunately, yes. Richard's been persistent about meeting you properly. Sophia felt a chill. She'd been researching Richard Knight extensively, and everything she'd learned made her more certain he was the one behind her father's death. What's he like? Your uncle? Alex hesitated. Richard is complicated. He's been like a father to me since my parents died. But lately, I feel like he doesn't trust my judgment. About the company? About everything, especially you. That evening, they arrived at Richard Knight's mansion on the Upper East Side. The house was a monument to old money, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors. Richard Knight himself was exactly what Sophia had expected. Tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed, and radiating the kind of cold authority that came from generations of wealth and power. So this is the famous Sophia, Richard said, taking her hand and kissing it in an old-fashioned gesture that felt more possessive than polite. Welcome to the family, my dear. Thank you, Mr. Knight. It's an honor to meet you. Please call me Uncle Richard. We're family now, after all. Dinner was served in a dining room that could have seated 30 people. Sophia sat between Alex and Richard, feeling like she was being evaluated with every bite she took. So, Sophia, Richard said over the main course, Alex tells me you're studying law. Corporate law, specifically. Yes. I'm particularly interested in family business structures and inheritance patterns. Richard's fork paused halfway to his mouth. How fascinating. And what do you hope to do with this knowledge? Sophia met his gaze steadily. Help families navigate complex legal situations, ensure that businesses are run ethically and transparently. Transparency, Richard repeated, his smile not reaching his eyes. Such an interesting concept in family business. Don't you think some things are better kept private? Alex looked between them, sensing an undercurrent he didn't understand. Uncle Richard, Sophia's research is academic. She's not interested in our family's business specifically. Of course not, Richard said smoothly. I'm simply curious about her academic interests. As the evening progressed, Sophia began to notice things. The way Richard watched her every movement. The careful questions about her background, her family, her research. The subtle threats disguised as polite conversation. But the moment that changed everything came during dessert, when Richard excused himself to take a phone call and left his study door slightly ajar. Sophia excused herself to use the restroom and instead crept toward the study, her heart pounding. Through the crack in the door, she could hear Richard's voice. Yes, I'm certain it's her. Miguel Martinez's daughter. No, I don't think Alex knows yet, but she's already asking too many questions. We need to handle this carefully. If she's here for revenge, she could destroy everything. Sophia's blood ran cold. Richard knew who she was. He'd known all along. She hurried back to the dining room, her mind racing. How long had he known? What was he planning to do about it? "Everything all right, dear?" Richard asked when he returned, his eyes sharp and calculating. "Fine," Sophia managed. "Just powder my nose." But as Alex drove them home, Richard's words echoed in her mind. If she's here for revenge, she could destroy everything. He was right. She was there for revenge. But now the man she was supposed to destroy was the man she was falling in love with. The next morning, Alex left early for a business meeting, giving Sophia the perfect opportunity to search the penthouse for evidence. As Mrs. Alexander Knight, she now had access to his home office, his personal files, and his family's most private documents. What she found exceeded her worst expectations. Hidden in a locked filing cabinet, which Sophia picked with skills learned from a very different childhood than the one she told Alex about, were documents that painted a clear picture of systematic corruption within Knight Industries, shell companies in the Cayman Islands, bribes to city officials, environmental violations covered up with payoffs, and most damning of all, a series of memos from Richard Knight to various fixers about problems that needed permanent solutions. The final memo was dated 3 days before her father's death. "Miguel Martinez has become a liability. Handle it discreetly. Make it look accidental." Sophia stared at the document, her hands shaking. Here it was, proof that Richard Knight had ordered her father's murder. But as she photographed the documents with her phone, she heard the front door open. "Sophia, I'm back." Alex's voice echoed through the penthouse. Sophia quickly locked the filing cabinet and hurried out of the office, her heart pounding. "Hey," she said, hoping her voice sounded normal. "How was your meeting?" Alex looked troubled. "Complicated. Richard wants me to approve some new acquisitions, but something about them feels off." "Off how?" "The companies we're buying have been accused of environmental violations. When I asked Richard about it, he said it was just activists making noise." Alex ran a hand through his hair. "But what if it's not? What if we're buying companies that have actually done harm?" Sophia saw her opening. "Alex, if you have concerns about the company's ethics, maybe you should investigate." "I wouldn't know where to start." "I could help," Sophia said carefully. "My legal training, research skills. I could look into these acquisitions for you." Alex looked at her with such trust and gratitude that Sophia felt sick. "Would you? That would be incredible. I want to do the right thing, Sophia, but I need evidence." "I'll find you evidence," Sophia promised. And she would. Evidence that would destroy Richard Knight and clear Alex's name. She just hoped she could do it without destroying her marriage in the process. What Sophia didn't know was that Richard had been monitoring all of Alex's communications since their wedding. That afternoon, he received a report that made his blood run cold. "She was in his office this morning for 47 minutes, the private investigator reported. "Security cameras show her accessing his filing cabinet." "Did she find anything?" "Hard to say, but she took photos of several documents." Richard leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. He'd hoped Sophia was just a gold digger who could be managed with money and intimidation. But it was becoming clear that she was far more dangerous than that. She was Miguel Martinez's daughter, and she was smart, determined, and now had access to everything. "What do you want me to do, boss?" Richard considered his options. He could have her killed, but that would devastate Alex and possibly drive him to investigate further. He could try to frame her for something, but that risked exposure of his own crimes. No, there was a better way. A way to destroy Sophia Martinez Knight without getting his own hands dirty. "I want you to plant something in her apartment," Richard said finally. "Something that will make Alex question everything he believes about his wife." "What kind of something?" Richard smiled, the expression cold and predatory. Evidence that she married him for money and revenge. Photos, documents, recordings. Whatever it takes to convince Alex that his wife is his enemy. And if that doesn't work, then we move to more permanent solutions. 3 days later, Alex received an anonymous package at his office. Inside was a flash drive and a note. Your wife isn't who you think she is. The truth will set you free. Alex stared at the package, his stomach churning. Every instinct told him to throw it away, to trust Sophia, to dismiss this as someone trying to cause trouble in his marriage. But another part of him, the part that had been betrayed before, the part that had learned to trust no one completely, whispered that he needed to know. He plugged the flash drive into his computer. What he saw destroyed him. Photos of Sophia meeting with Professor Rodriguez. Audio recordings of their conversations about building a case against the Knight family. Bank records showing payments to Sophia for research services on a project titled Corporate Dynasty Corruption, the Knight Industries Case Study. And worst of all, a video of Sophia in her apartment talking on the phone. Don't worry, Professor. I'm getting close to Alex Knight. Soon I'll have access to everything we need to prove what his family did to my father. Yes, I know it's risky getting emotionally involved, but I have to stay focused on the mission. Justice for Miguel Martinez is worth any sacrifice. Alex slammed his laptop shut, his hands shaking with rage and heartbreak. Everything, their meeting, their relationship, their marriage, had been a lie. Sophia Martinez hadn't fallen in love with him. She'd been hunting him. That evening, Sophia returned to the penthouse, excited to share what she'd discovered about Richard's criminal activities. She'd spent the day gathering more evidence, building an airtight case that would expose Richard while protecting Alex. Alex, she called as she entered, I have incredible news about your uncle's. She stopped short when she saw Alex sitting in the living room, his face like stone, a laptop open on the coffee table. Sit down, Sophia, he said quietly. Something in his tone made her blood run cold. Alex, what's wrong? I said sit down. Sophia sat on the edge of the couch, her heart pounding. Alex, you're scaring me. Good, Alex said, his voice flat. You should be scared. Because I know who you really are, Sophia Martinez. Or should I say, Professor Rodriguez's research assistant? Sophia felt the world tilt around her. Alex, I can explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to me since the day we met. How you married me not because you loved me, but because you wanted to destroy my family. That's not. Stop. Alex's voice was deadly quiet. Just stop lying. I've seen the evidence. I know about your research project, your meetings with your professor, your plans to get justice for Miguel Martinez. Sophia's mouth went dry. How did you? Does it matter? Alex stood up, pacing away from her. What matters is that everything between us has been a lie. Our meeting, our dates, our marriage, you planned all of it. Alex, please listen to me. Why should I? You've done nothing but lie since the moment I met you. Sophia stood up, desperate to make him understand. Yes, I came to you with an agenda. Yes, I was investigating your family. But Alex, my feelings for you are real. I love you. Alex laughed, the sound bitter and broken. Love? You don't know what love is. Love is honesty, trust, vulnerability. You've given me none of those things. I was trying to protect you. From what? From the truth about your uncle, Sophia shouted, her own anger finally breaking through. Richard killed my father, Alex. He's been stealing from your company for years. And when my father tried to expose him, Richard had him murdered. Alex stared at her, his expression unreadable. So this is about revenge. It started that way, Sophia admitted, tears streaming down her face. But somewhere along the way, it became about saving you. You asked me what I'd do if I discovered someone in your family had committed crimes, and I told you I'd expose them. That's what I'm trying to do, Alex. I'm trying to save you from Richard. By lying to me? By manipulating me? By making me fall in love with someone who doesn't exist? I exist. Sophia stepped toward him, but Mimi backed away. The woman you fell in love with is real, Alex. Yes, I had hidden motives, but every moment we shared, every conversation, every kiss, that was real. Alex shook his head, his eyes filled with pain and betrayal. I don't know what's real anymore. Then let me show you. Sophia reached for her phone. I have evidence, Alex. Proof of what Richard has done. Documents, financial records, even a memo ordering my father's death. Enough! Alex's voice boomed through the penthouse. I don't want to see your evidence. I don't want to hear your explanations. I want you out of my life. The words hit Sophia like physical blows. Alex, please. Get out. This is my home too. Get out. Sophia stared at him, seeing nothing but cold fury in his eyes. The man she'd fallen in love with was gone, replaced by someone who looked at her like she was poison. Fine, she whispered, grabbing her purse. But Alex, when you finally see the truth about your uncle, remember that I tried to save you. The only thing I need saving from, Alex said as she reached the door, is you. As Sophia left the penthouse, she didn't see the shadow move away from the window across the street. Richard Knight lowered his binoculars, satisfied. Phase 1 was complete. Alex and Sophia were enemies now. But Richard wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. Alone in her tiny studio apartment for the first time in weeks, Sophia sat surrounded by the evidence she'd gathered against Richard Knight. Bank records, emails, financial statements, and the smoking gun. The memo ordering her father's death. Her phone rang. Professor Rodriguez. Sophia, I've been trying to reach you for days. How's the investigation going? It's over, Sophia said numbly. Alex found out who I was. He kicked me out. Oh, my dear, I'm so sorry. But did you get what we needed? Sophia looked at the damning evidence spread across her coffee table. More than enough to destroy Richard Knight and clear Alex's name. Then we can proceed with... No, Sophia said firmly. We can't use any of this. What? Why not? Because it would hurt Alex. He may hate me now, but I won't be the one to destroy his life. Sophia, this man's family killed your father. His uncle killed my father. Alex is innocent. Professor Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. Are you sure this isn't about your feelings for him? Sophia closed her eyes, thinking about Alex's face when he discovered her deception. The pain, the betrayal, the complete shattering of trust. Maybe it is, she admitted, but that doesn't change the fact that using evidence I obtained through deception would be ethically wrong. And more than that, it would destroy an innocent man. So what do you propose we do? Sophia stared at the memo that proved Richard's guilt. We find another way. A way that gets justice for my father without destroying Alex. And if there isn't another way, Sophia thought about that for a long moment, then I guess I have to choose between justice and love. Meanwhile, across town, Alex was drowning his sorrows in whiskey and trying not to think about the way Sophia had looked when he'd thrown her out. Hurt, desperate, and heartbroken, just like he felt now. His phone buzzed. A text from Richard. I heard about Sophia. I'm sorry, my boy, but perhaps it's for the best. She wasn't right for our family. Alex stared at the message, something bothering him about his uncle's tone. How had Richard heard about their separation so quickly? And why did he seem almost pleased? For the first time since discovering Sophia's deception, Alex began to wonder if there was more to the story. But doubt wasn't enough to heal the wound in Alex's heart. As he sat alone in his penthouse, he realized that regardless of Sophia's motives, she had made him feel something he'd never felt before. Truly loved for who he was, not what he had. The irony wasn't lost on him. The one person who had made him believe in love had been lying to him the entire time. And the worst part? He was still in love with her. Even knowing the truth, even feeling betrayed and manipulated, Alex couldn't stop loving Sophia Martinez, which meant he was either the biggest fool in New York, or Sophia had been telling the truth when she said her feelings were real. The question was, which was it? And was he brave enough to find out? Richard Knight stood in his mansion study, reviewing his master plan. Phase 1 had worked perfectly. Alex and Sophia were separated, their marriage in ruins. Now it was time for Phase 2, eliminating Sophia permanently while securing his control over Knight Industries. His phone rang. "Sir, she's been alone in her apartment for 3 days. No visitors, no phone calls except to her professor." "Perfect. And Alex?" "Drinking heavily, hasn't left the penthouse. He's not sleeping, barely eating. The separation is destroying him." Richard smiled coldly. "Good. A broken Alex would be easier to manipulate. Proceed with the final phase. Make it look like suicide. A young woman overwhelmed by guilt and shame after her deception was exposed. When? Tonight. And make sure Alex has an alibi. I want him at the company party, seen by hundreds of witnesses." Richard hung up and poured himself a celebratory scotch. By tomorrow morning, Sophia Martinez would be dead. Alex would inherit everything, and Richard would continue to control the empire from behind the scenes. What Richard didn't know was that across town, Alex was making a decision that would change everything. Alex sat in his study, staring at the laptop that had destroyed his marriage. Something had been bothering him for days about the evidence against Sophia, and finally, he figured out what it was. The audio quality was too perfect, the bank records too convenient, the video too well shot for someone who didn't know they were being recorded. Alex had built his business on reading people, on spotting deception and manipulation, and the more he studied the evidence against Sophia, the more it felt manufactured. He picked up his phone and called his head of security, Marcus Chen. "Marcus, I need you to analyze some digital evidence. Can you come over now?" "At 11 p.m., boss. It's urgent." 30 minutes later, Marcus was examining Alex's laptop with professional equipment. "Well?" Alex asked impatiently. "The video's been edited," Marcus said finally. "See these micro-cuts? Someone spliced together different conversations to make it sound like she was confessing to deceiving you." Alex's heart stopped. "Are you sure?" "Positive. And the audio files. The background noise doesn't match. They were recorded in different locations and then layered together." "So it's all fake?" "Every piece of digital evidence on here has been manipulated." Marcus looked up at Alex. "Someone went to a lot of trouble to frame your wife." Alex's mind raced. If the evidence was fake, then Sophia had been telling the truth. She really was trying to save him from Richard. Richard, who had access to private investigators, digital experts, and unlimited resources. Richard, who had seemed almost pleased when Alex's marriage fell apart. Richard, who stood to gain everything if Alex's marriage failed and he lost the inheritance. "Marcus," Alex said urgently, "I need you to trace where this evidence came from." "Already working on it." Marcus's fingers flew over his keyboard. The flash drive was purchased with a credit card registered to Blackstone Investigations. That's a private security firm used by... Marcus paused, his face pale. "Used by Richard Knight." Alex felt like he'd been punched in the gut. His own uncle had orchestrated the destruction of his marriage. But why? His phone buzzed with a text from Richard. "Don't forget the company party tonight. Important investors will be there. You need to be seen." Another text immediately followed. "And Alex? I heard about some unfortunate accident that might happen tonight. Young woman couldn't handle the shame of her deception. Such a tragedy." Alex's blood ran cold. That wasn't a prediction. It was a threat. "Marcus, get the car, now." "Where are we going?" "To save my wife." Sophia was packing her few belongings, preparing to leave New York forever. The evidence against Richard would stay hidden. Her father's murder would go unpunished, and Alex would inherit an empire built on blood. But he would be safe. And sometimes, love meant letting go. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Through the peephole she saw two men in dark suits. "Ms. Martinez? We're with building maintenance. There's been a gas leak reported on your floor." Something felt wrong. Sophia had lived in the building for 3 years and had never seen these men before. And they didn't look like maintenance workers. They looked like the kind of men Richard Knight would hire to solve problems. "I don't smell any gas," she called through the door. "Ma'am, we need to evacuate the building immediately for safety." Sophia's heart pounded. Through her window she could see a white van parked across the street with 2 more men inside. Her phone was dead. She'd forgotten to charge it. Her laptop was packed away. She was completely cut off. The doorknob rattled as someone tried to pick the lock. Sophia grabbed the fire extinguisher from her hallway and positioned herself behind the door. When it opened and the first man stepped inside, she swung with all her strength. He went down hard, but the second man was ready for her. He lunged forward, and Sophia saw the syringe in his hand, something to make her suicide look more convincing. She ran. Racing down the fire escape, Sophia could hear them pursuing her. She burst onto the street and ran toward the one place she knew she'd be safe, the Midnight Scholar Cafe, where it all began. But as she reached the entrance, strong hands grabbed her from behind. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," a voice whispered in her ear. "Richard Knight sends his regards." Alex's Lamborghini screamed through Manhattan streets, Marcus in the passenger seat coordinating with their security team. "No answer at her apartment," Marcus reported, "but I'm tracking unusual activity in the area. Multiple vehicles, surveillance equipment." "They're already there," Alex said grimly, pressing harder on the accelerator. His phone rang. An unknown number. "Alex?" Sophia's voice was terrified, whispering, "I don't have much time. Richard's men found me. They're trying to—" The line went dead. "Trace that call," Alex shouted. "Working on it. Got it. Columbia University, near the law library." Alex yanked the wheel hard left, tires screeching as he raced toward the university. In the distance, he could see police lights. Too many police lights. They arrived to find chaos. Police cars, ambulances, and a crowd of onlookers gathered around the Midnight Scholar Cafe. Alex's heart stopped when he saw Sophia being loaded into an ambulance, unconscious and pale. "Stop!" he shouted, running toward the ambulance. "That's my wife!" But the ambulance doors slammed shut, and it drove away before he could reach it. "Sir," a police officer approached him. "Are you Alexander Knight?" "Yes, where are they taking her?" "I'm afraid there's been an incident. Your wife was found unconscious outside the cafe. Appears to be a drug overdose, possible suicide attempt." "That's impossible," Alex said. "Sophia doesn't use drugs. She would never—" "Sir, we found this in her purse." The officer held up a suicide note. Even from a distance, Alex could see it was typed, not handwritten. "This is all wrong," Alex insisted. "My wife is in danger. Someone is trying to kill her." "Sir, I understand this is difficult, but—" Alex's phone rang, Richard's number. Alex, my boy, I just heard the terrible news about Sophia. What a tragedy. I'm so sorry for your loss." "My loss?" Alex repeated, his voice deadly quiet. "Well, the doctors don't expect her to survive the night. Such a shame. The guilt of her deception must have been too much to bear." Alex looked at the police officer, then at Marcus, then back at his phone. "Uncle Richard, where exactly are you right now?" "At home, of course. Why do you ask?" "Just wondering. Because I'm looking at security footage that shows your men kidnapping my wife 20 minutes ago." Silence on the other end. "I don't know what you mean." "Drop the act," Alex snarled. "I know you framed Sophia. I know you planted that evidence. And I know you ordered my wife's murder, just like you ordered her father's." "Alex, you're clearly distraught." "Miguel Martinez," Alex continued. "That's who Sophia's father was, wasn't it? The lawyer who discovered your embezzlement 15 years ago. The lawyer who died in a convenient car accident right before he could expose you." Another long silence. "You have no proof of any of this?" Richard said finally, his voice ice cold. "Actually, I do. Sophia gathered quite a bit of evidence before you tore our marriage apart. Bank records, emails, even a memo in your handwriting ordering Miguel Martinez's death. That's impossible. I destroyed all—" Richard caught himself. "All the evidence?" "Except the copies Sophia made. The copies that are now in the hands of the FBI. It was a bluff, but Richard didn't know that." "Where is my wife?" Alex demanded. "Even if I knew, it's too late." "She's already gone, Alex. In a few hours, you'll inherit everything, and we can rebuild the company together. Tell me where she is, or I'll make sure you spend the rest of your life in prison." Richard laughed. "You won't do that. You're too soft, too emotional. You don't have the stomach for what real power requires. Try me." Something in Alex's tone made Richard hesitate. "Alex, listen to reason." "Marcus," Alex said loudly enough for Richard to hear, "send the evidence to the FBI, all of it." "Wait." Richard's composure finally cracked. "She's at Mercy General, room 314. But Alex, if you expose me, you'll destroy the company. Thousands of jobs, the family legacy." "The family legacy is built on murder and lies," Alex said. "It's time to tear it all down." He hung up and turned to the police officer. "Mercy General Hospital. My wife was taken there against her will, and someone is trying to kill her." Mercy General Hospital at midnight was a maze of sterile corridors and hushed voices. Alex and Marcus made their way to the third floor, accompanied by 2 police officers, who were finally starting to believe Alex's story. Room 314 was guarded by a man in scrubs who looked more like security than medical staff. "I'm here to see my wife," Alex announced. "I'm sorry, sir, but the patient is in critical condition. No visitors allowed." Alex studied the man's face. "You're not a doctor." "I'm afraid you'll have to leave." Marcus moved faster than anyone expected, subduing the fake orderly in seconds. Alex burst into the room to find Sophia connected to multiple IVs, unconscious but breathing. A real doctor, Dr. Patricia Williams, according to her badge, was adjusting one of the IV bags. "Doctor, what's her condition?" Alex asked. Dr. Williams turned, and Alex saw guilt written all over her face. She's stable for now." "What did you give her?" I was told she was a suicide risk, that she needed sedation to prevent her from hurting herself further." Alex looked at the IV bag in her hand. "What's in that?" Dr. Williams hesitated. It's not standard medication." "Who ordered it?" "Mr. Richard Knight. He said he was her uncle by marriage, that he was handling her care." Alex moved closer to the IV bag. The liquid inside was clear, but something about it looked wrong. "Marcus, get hospital security up here now, and call the real medical team." As Marcus made the calls, Alex turned back to Dr. Williams. "How much did Richard pay you?" "I have student loans. My residency salary barely covers rent. He offered to pay off my debts if you just murdered my wife." Dr. Williams broke down. "I didn't know. He said she was mentally ill, that it was a mercy. Save it for the police." Alex moved to Sophia's bedside, taking her hand. Her skin was cold, her breathing shallow. "Sophia, can you hear me? I'm here. I'm so sorry. I should have believed you." Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused but alive. "Alex," she whispered, "I'm here. You're safe now. Richard, he killed my father. I know, and he's going to pay for it." As hospital security arrived and Dr. Williams was arrested, Alex's phone rang one last time. Richard Knight's voice was different now, cold, calculated, and completely without pretense. "Very impressive, Alex. You've ruined 15 years of careful planning." "It's over, Richard." "Is it? Because even if you expose me, even if I go to prison, the damage is done. Your marriage is destroyed. The woman you love will never trust you again, and Knight Industries will collapse in the scandal." Alex looked at Sophia, who was listening to every word despite her weakened state. "Maybe," Alex said, "but at least I'll have my soul intact." "Your soul?" Richard laughed. "Alex, you still don't understand. I didn't just kill Miguel Martinez. I killed your parents, too." The words hit Alex like a physical blow. "What?" "The car accident when you were 12? I arranged it. Your father was getting too curious about my business activities, just like Martinez years later. So I handled the problem." Alex's hand tightened around the phone. "You murdered my parents." "I saved the company. Your father was going to run it into the ground with his ethics and his conscience. I made Knight Industries what it is today. You made it a criminal enterprise. I made it profitable. But you, Alex, you're just like your father, too weak to do what's necessary." Alex looked at Sophia, seeing the pain in her eyes, not physical pain, but the anguish of watching the man she loved learn that his entire life had been built on lies. "You're right," Alex said quietly. "I am like my father. And that's exactly why I'm going to destroy everything you built." He hung up and turned to the police officers. "I want to give a full statement about Richard Knight, about Knight Industries, about all of it." "Alex," Sophia whispered, "the inheritance. You'll lose everything." Alex squeezed her hand. "I already lost everything when I lost you. The money doesn't matter. But thousands of people work for the company. Then we'll rebuild it the right way. Together." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "Can you ever forgive me? For lying to you? For deceiving you?" Alex leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Can you forgive me for not believing in you when it mattered? We both made mistakes. Then let's start over, for real this time." The federal courthouse in Manhattan was packed with reporters and spectators as Richard Knight was led away in handcuffs. He'd been convicted on multiple charges: murder, conspiracy, embezzlement, and racketeering. The evidence Sophia had gathered, combined with Alex's testimony, had built an airtight case. Alex and Sophia stood on the courthouse steps, holding hands as cameras flashed around them. "Mr. Knight," a reporter called out, "you lost your inheritance by exposing your uncle. Do you regret your decision?" Alex looked at Sophia, beautiful in a simple blue dress, her wedding ring, a new one, chosen together, catching the sunlight. "I didn't lose my inheritance," Alex said. "I found something better. I found the truth. And I found my wife." "What's next for you both?" Sophia stepped forward. "We're starting over. Knight Industries is being restructured as an ethical company focused on environmental sustainability and fair labor practices. We're calling it Phoenix Industries. something new rising from the ashes of the old. And personally? Alex smiled, the first genuinely happy smile he'd worn in years. Personally, we're going to build the kind of marriage that's built on truth instead of contracts. As they walked away from the courthouse, Alex turned to Sophia. Any regrets? About exposing Richard? Never. About marrying me in the first place? Sophia stopped walking and turned to face him. Alex, I married you the first time for the wrong reasons. But if you asked me to marry you today, I'd say yes for all the right ones. Alex dropped to one knee right there on the courthouse steps, pulling out a ring box. Sophia Martinez Knight, will you marry me? Again? For love this time? Sophia laughed through her tears. You're really going to propose to your own wife? I'm proposing to the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. The woman who saved me from becoming someone I hated. The woman who chose justice over revenge, truth over comfort, and love over everything else. Yes, Sophia said, pulling him up to kiss her. Yes, I'll marry you. Again. Around them, reporters and passers-by applauded, but Alex and Sophia only had eyes for each other. 6 months later, they remarried in a small ceremony at the same Italian restaurant where they'd had their first real date. This time, there were no contracts, no hidden agendas, no lies. Just two people who had learned that real love wasn't about perfection. It was about fighting for each other, even when the odds seemed impossible, especially then. As they danced to their wedding song, Alex whispered in Sophia's ear, "Thank you for crashing into my life and turning it upside down." "Thank you for letting me," Sophia whispered back. And in that moment, both of them knew that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin with the most complicated lies. Phoenix Industries went on to become one of the most successful ethical companies in America. Richard Knight died in prison 3 years later, unrepentant to the end. And Alex and Sophia Knight built a marriage based on honesty, trust, and the understanding that love is stronger than any inheritance clause. But the most important thing they learned? Sometimes the best way to find yourself is to lose everything you thought you wanted. And sometimes the person you're meant to love forever is the one who forces you to face the truth about who you really are. Epilogue, 5 years later. "Mommy, tell us the story again," demanded 4-year-old Isabella Knight, climbing into her mother's lap. "Which story, sweetheart?" Sophia asked, though she already knew the answer. "The story about how you and Daddy met." Alex looked up from his laptop, where he'd been reviewing eco-friendly investment proposals for Phoenix Industries. "Again? Don't you know it by heart by now?" "But it's the best story ever," said 2-year-old Michael, toddling over to his father. Sophia and Alex exchanged a look over their children's heads, a look full of shared history, hard-won wisdom, and unshakable love. "Well," Sophia began, settling both children more comfortably, "it all started when a very reckless man in a very expensive car almost ran me over." Alex grinned. "Hey, I was being chased by paparazzi. And I was a very stubborn woman with a very dangerous plan." "The best kind of woman," Alex said, winking at her. As Sophia told their story, edited for young ears, of course, Alex watched his wife and children and marveled at how much his life had changed. He'd lost a fortune, but gained everything that mattered. Love, he'd learned, was the only inheritance worth having, and theirs was a legacy that would last forever. What did you think of Alex and Sophia's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss any of our stories. And take a moment to check out more heartfelt stories by clicking right here on the end screen.